Oh. I'm Dan Snow, and today I'm going to be eating and drinking like a long-suffering British Tommy in the trenches of the First World War. Let's get on with it. World War I was one of the deadliest conflicts in history. It saw an astonishing 65 million men take part in fighting across the globe. The war, which was known as the Great War because it was so devastating, began in July 1914 and finally ended in November 1918. For the millions of British soldiers that served, life would have been extremely tough. Imagine waking up to the sound of gunfire, doing up your scratchy uniform that's been worn for weeks, and heading into battle with only a few bites of stale bread and a sip of tepid tea in your stomach. That's what life could be like for First World War soldiers. It wasn't just the constant threat of danger that made their lives difficult. Their diets were pretty bleak too. Trench stew, or maconochie. This was the staple for the British soldiers in the trenches of the First World War. Now, cooking in those trenches is very difficult indeed, so soldiers ate most of their rations cold. If they weren't lucky enough to get a stove going, it was on a small, folding, solid fuel stove known as the Tommy cooker. Men carried them in their packs. And if they were behind the lines, a little bit further back, they might cook in pots over charcoal or scavenged wood. Oh, it's absolutely disgusting. It's basically bully beef, corned beef out of a tin with a few vegetables chopped up in there. Things like turnips and carrots. Biscuits. They were famously hard as rock. I gotta say, get this sort of cut them in half, then you add them to the stew. Try and make it slightly more palatable. Oh. It's just like eating cardboard. Bits of stale cardboard, if cardboard gets stale. They would try and create the stew in a small group of men that would be doled out into individual mess tins. But that's grim. They say that warmed in a tin, maconochie stew was edible. Cold, it was a man killer. You can see why. Whoa. These biscuits so hard you could put down the front of your shirt and they'd act as a Kevlar vest. Stop bullets, that would. If you happened to be a biscuit manufacturer in 1914, then it was your lucky day. The country's largest biscuit family was owned by some peace-loving Quakers, Huntley and Palmers, and it played a crucial role in the war. It supplied vast amounts of biscuits. Less than a week after the outbreak of the war, in 1914, the factory received the first of many gigantic orders from the War Office for the manufacture of biscuits. This was basically like bread that didn't go stale. You could ship it abroad. The factory had to work night and day, 7 days a week to meet the demand. These biscuits were about 4 inches square. They were made of whole wheat flour. They had no sugar. They were very, very hard. They could be transported in bulk. And when they got to the trenches, soldiers used to dip them in water or tea and try and break them up a bit. There's a great quote from a private Pressy of the Royal Artillery. He said, "The biscuits are so hard that you had to put them on a firm surface and smash them with a stone." Look at that. I've held one in my hand and hit the sharp corner on a brick wall and it only hurt my hand. He's right. You could use that as a weapon if your bullets run out. No Brit is going to do anything, let alone fight a war, without a cup of tea. It was comforting, it was warm, gave a little reminder of home, and the tea also helped disguise the flavour of the water, which was often transported to the front in jerry cans, which had been used to contain petrol, so it tasted disgusting. Tea was also very good at helping to, well, dissolve these extremely hard biscuits. You just dunk one of these in for about 24 hours. Still hard as rock. Chocolate. Vast amounts of chocolate was transported to the trenches to try and keep up morale. In December 1914, the city of York sent a Christmas gift, a tin of chocolate to all the men from York serving in the forces. This was done, giving people a sense of home, reminding them of their friends and loved ones. Oh, that's improved my morale. We actually have a letter that Henry Bailey, one of those York lads, sent home in January 1915. He said, "I feel I ought to send my very best thanks for the nice box of chocolate I received so unexpectedly. I'm proud to be able to say that I'm a York lad and am looking forward to a speedy termination of this cruel war. I shall prize the box as long as God spares me." The rum ration. Talking Brits after all. Rum was the lifeblood of those men in the trenches. Generally, it would be doled out in the morning, although some sources say it could be given out more frequently, particularly when maybe attacks were imminent. One soldier, Charles William Nightingale, recorded that rum was issued with cheese every night during the Gallipoli campaign. But often it was given out in the mornings, so-called stand to. That's when every soldier grabbed their weapon, stood on the firing step, peering over the edge of the trench in case the enemy attacked at dawn. The writer Robert Graves noted that his soldiers looked forward to their tot of rum at dawn stand to as the brightest moment of their 24 hours. One of the many myths about the First World War is that soldiers would end up stumbling across no man's land in blind, drunk stupors as a matter of routine. But in fact, that isn't correct from what we know about the ration. The British soldier was given only 1/16 of a pint every day, although he would have made it his mission to find more. French, on the other hand, drank wine, obviously, nearly a pint every day. Cigarettes were an essential part of army life. Nearly everyone smoked. They were used as currency. 2 cigarettes, apparently, was the price of a haircut in the trenches. Given what we now know about cigarettes, seems a bit strange, but it's what you sent your loved ones to help them thrive in a very tough environment. You could buy them everywhere behind the lines, and you were issued with 2 ounces of tobacco like this every single day. People in Britain could also send their loved ones drugs, heroin, and particularly a cocaine-based med called forced march, which helped deal with hunger and fatigue. Just living, surviving in the trenches was so brutal, so extreme and hard that some historians think that the only way that they managed to convince the troops to actually stay in there was by pushing enough booze, tobacco, sugar, caffeine and drugs to the men stationed there. And having tried some of the food, I've got a lot of sympathy for that point of view. Thanks for joining me, folks. If you've enjoyed watching, please click on any of the videos on this screen for more delicious content.